Welcome to the Finger Lakes Board Sports Podcast, brought to you by Rochester Wind Sports on FingerLakes1.com. I'm Doug Willard, along with my co-host, Jason Gordon. He's over there in studio. Welcome to the show. It's Monday, January 20, 2014, and we're a tick or two past 2 o'clock. This is our inaugural podcast. We're going to talk all things board sports around the greater Finger Lakes area. So thanks for joining us. This will be a monthly podcast. This is our first one. Jason, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Doug.
Glad to be here. It's a cold one outside, but I think the wind meter outside the FL1.com studio is out of the north, so it's a cold wind today.
It is.
So
we got here safely with a little bit of snow on the road, but so far so good.
Yeah, it's good to be here. On this podcast, we're going to be talking windsurfing, kiteboarding, stand-up paddleboarding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something that I know you've gotten into a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
We might talk some skateboarding.
Traditional surfing.
Yeah, traditional surfing, Great Lake surfing, something that a lot of people haven't really heard much about, but it's kind of growing in popularity around here. So that's where we hope to go, right?
Sounds good.
Let's do it. This show, I guess we're going to talk how we got into what we're doing, starting kite surfing, starting windsurfing, stand-up paddleboarding, and we'll see where it goes from there. All right?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, I guess I should talk a little bit about windsurfing. You might have seen us out buzzing around on the lakes, Seneca Lake and Cayuga Lake, the south end, the north end. And I'm a windsurfer myself, Jay. You're a kite surfer, but
former windsurfer.
How'd you get there?
Yeah, I windsurfed for about 10 years and was finding that the wind quality around the region was not to my satisfaction, and was looking to get more sessions, and found a couple friends who were former windsurfers, had transitioned over to kiting, and decided to give it a try. After having seen it live for the first time in Turks and Caicos Islands down in the British West Indies. And when I saw somebody doing it live, I was sold.
Yeah.
And decided, because you can get out and get a session in lower winds as compared to windsurfing,
Yeah.
decided that I really needed to go toward the kite surfing versus the windsurfing.
And it all kind of blossoms, right? I mean, I know you've done some a lot of stand-up paddleboarding.
Mm-hmm.
You've even done some surfing on Lake Ontario.
Yeah, yeah, and in Puerto Rico, and it's actually been a way for me to learn how to surf. I've learned a lot about wave quality and how the wind and the land mass affect the wave quality, and just general awareness of weather on the water has gone through the roof, and that helps a lot with learning how to do a sport that's seemingly unrelated to kite surfing.
Yeah,
you learn to know how to watch for a wave that's coming in, have an eye for how it's forming, and then you go after it, and you can make best use of it. And that directly translates over to surfing, where obviously those guys spend a lot of time watching for the best wave to come and being patient. Yeah.
Well, and you talked a lot about the weather too,
yep.
and being outdoors, and I think that's something that through the podcast here we'll probably talk about is you and I and a lot of people that are in this area of New York. We love to get outside and just get after life, whatever it may be. This happens to be on the water, and
yep.
This time of the year on the ice and snow too.
Yeah,
and a good show to talk about.
It's a great way to get out and embrace the weather. Sometimes I think we both agree that it's some of the funnest outdoor experiences can be in pretty extreme weather.
Oh yeah,
and that's when we get our best sessions on the water, because you don't go windsurfing or kite surfing on a calm day generally.
Yeah. Well, and that feeling, I mean, so many times people are asking, is that a good workout? And yeah, it's a great workout, but I don't look at it that way, and a lot of people don't. It's such a neat way to hide a great workout in just activity and being active.
That's
right?
a good point.
I mean,
it's a really good point, because I think of folks who spend a lot of time at the gym, and they have these buff bodies, and it seems like an awfully boring way to get your exercise. Whereas this is just all fun, and you finish, and you're right. You say, "Wow, I'm whipped."
Out in the waves.
Yeah.
And being pulled by the wind.
Yep.
Well, we've talked a little bit about windsurfing and kiteboarding, kite surfing, which you and I are both passionate about, and some of the other things that we've enjoyed doing that are kind of accessory sports, right? I mean, stand-up paddleboarding is, for us, an accessory, but at the same time, stand-up paddleboarding, I guess, could be a gateway to this. And that's happening here on the Finger Lakes.
Yeah, that's a sport that's really growing, isn't it?
Yeah. You and I both have been lucky to meet people that are as passionate about that, the paddling aspect of it, as we are for the wind and
yeah. And for folks who aren't maybe familiar with that sport, it's essentially a long, large surfboard that has enough buoyancy for the person to stand on and use a long oar essentially to paddle through the water.
Yourself.
Yeah, and you can do flat water. There's different board designs for flat water versus wave riding, and anywhere in between.
Yoga.
That's right. Yes.
Right? I don't practice yoga myself, not because
don't?
I don't enjoy yoga, but I don't know how I'd look in the yoga pants.
Yeah.
Don't you worry about how you look in yoga pants. We're getting off topic, though. Let's not get off topic.
Better watch it.
But yeah, people get into that. I know they've got yoga lessons.
Yep.
On paddle boards.
Yep. Great for balance, I tell you. It's like you said. It's a great gateway to other sports, whether you head toward the wind sports direction or more board sports related to snow or land-based board sports.
Right.
Using those same muscles. I mean, there's a lot of core muscles that are engaged when you're doing it stand-up paddleboarding, so it's a great way to get your body fit for other sports.
There's your workout, people. We're talking about workouts. But there it is, and out in the sun and the weather, right? Well, there we've got windsurfing, kiteboarding. We've already hit on.
Yep.
I know you've got some skateboarding in your background, and we through the stand-up paddleboarding. You and I have both met people who are even into longboarding and using a longboard and a land paddle.
Yes.
That long paddle with a rubber wheel or a ball on the bottom to propel yourself. And
in that case, you're essentially on a long skateboard, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And I think it's exploding. And I know that I was even watching TV the other day. Somebody gave me a heads up probably a month ago. A manufacturer, Hamboards, I believe they're called, and they're sold around Rochester. That's a vendor, of course, and they're pricey, but it's a land surfboard, and they were on the TV show Shark Tank, and that was really cool to see.
Oh, I was just watching that.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I think they ended up they were going to get some assistance. I don't know how it turned out, but I know that upon visiting their website, they had a backlog of orders due to their spot.
Great.
On that. So, well, back to wind sports, I guess. I've been on a podcast here with Jim at Finger Lakes One here, and I talked windsurfing, getting into windsurfing, how I started. Windsurfing's been around, of course, probably definitely longer as a mainstream sport than kiteboarding, kite surfing, and it's been around since the 80s, or 70s, really.
Oh yeah.
Blew up in the 80s with neon colors and caught my eye. And something caught your eye too. So, there's a lot of places around here to do it with water. You don't need gas. It's
that's nice.
It's top of your car. It's pretty readily accessible. So, if we can get people into this, windsurfing's kind of slowed down in its popularity through the 90s. I think there's a bit of a resurgence with the beginner equipment. I know you probably see it. I know you're pretty dedicated to kiteboarding, but with wider windsurfing boards and smaller sails, stuff really aimed at people that are, to make it easy getting out there and within the first couple hours being able to windsurf. And so hopefully now as we head into 2014 and beyond, maybe windsurfing will make a little bit more of a resurgence. And hopefully the people seeing this podcast, we can help you stoke your interest and help you find a way to either windsurf or kiteboard? Because kiteboarding was kind of, would you say, like the snowboarding of the kiteboarding would be the snowboarding to windsurfing, skiing?
Yeah. Yeah, I use that analogy. The learning curve is similar. The first session on a snowboard can be pretty painful, and the first day is maybe very frustrating on a snowboard because you are possibly falling on your rump a lot, maybe your wrist. Similarly with kiteboarding, the kite is a wing, and with wind going across that wing, it creates lift, and it's attached to your body, and that is terrifying.
Yeah.
First time you do that. However, the learning curve for both of those sports is much friendlier, I think, than skiing and windsurfing in that you can progress quite quickly to more advanced moves in both of those sports and become proficient a lot quicker. Whereas windsurfing, my experience with windsurfing, I had a lot of fun ripping back and forth, but I never was able to transition into the more advanced moves. Similarly with skiing, I've skied since I was a little kid, and I've taken a lot of friends skiing over the years, and their first day can be great. You get them to get the handle of the fundamentals, and they can get down the run. By the end of the day, they're not falling anymore. They're hooked. However, it can take years and years to become proficient to the level of having some real skill. So where you have finesse and
all of that time enjoyable, though, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you didn't know what you were looking for until you found it. Sometimes,
exactly.
I can ski. I can get that pizza wedge down the hill.
Right.
But you didn't know what you were. Oh, these bumps were cool.
Mm-hmm.
Or
there's
carving that turn.
Jumps on rocket.
Yeah. Met those days of pulling when they used to rip tags, and boy, it's changed.
Yeah. They tried to arrest my brother and I we were trying to do helicopters one time, and this is before the 5 years before the huge terrain parks were put in.
Sure.
And it's a weekday. There's no one there, and they said, reckless endangerment. We're going to get the cops down here and get you guys arrested. Wow. Lost our tickets, and fortunately didn't wind up in jail.
You're still here.
As far as you know.
So kiteboarding did it spawn off of windsurfing, and about when? And people may not be used to it. They might be calling it parasailing, or I know when you and I look and we see stuff on the internet or TV, it is.
Yeah. Well, first let's make a distinction between the two for folks who don't maybe know what that distinction is.
Yep.
Windsurfing being a large surfboard with a mast attached right to the surfboard and a sail, between say 3 and 8 meters square.
And it's all attached. So that's a good distinction.
Yeah. So your power source is there on the board, versus kite surfing is potentially the same type board, a surfboard or a wakeboard, but the power source is now attached to the rider, and it's a kite, so it has lines leading to your power source, which is about 30 meters up, about 75 feet, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So the fundamental difference is then your power source is not part of the board. So to go back to your original question regarding the history of it a little bit, I think the earliest kiteboarding on water, from the reading just recently, I just was reading an older kiteboarding magazine where it showed a guy he had a metal bar. It was about 4 feet wide with 2 lines coming off of it. They didn't show the kite, so I don't know what that looked like. But and I think this was late 80s, maybe early 90s.
This sounds like something that Gilligan and the Skipper and the Professor made to try to get back to civilization.
Yeah.
So I know it's come a long way from there. So anyways,
I heard Mary Ann could do one heck of a back loop. Anyway.
I like Ginger, personally. But
yeah.
I was a Mary Ann guy.
I was Mary Ann actually earlier because I was just a kid. Ginger was like a Marilyn Monroe class woman.
Yeah,
so it was a whole different.
That's unattainable. So it started out with that huge 4 foot
metal. I think that the article said that when he crashed it severely and had to let go of his rig, the thing sank to the bottom. So it was kind of interesting to see. And as I understand it, the production kites started being on the scene in the late 90s, I think, maybe mid to late 90s. And some of the known windsurfing manufacturers, including Cabrina, Nash, and I think Gastra early on had some kite. I have actually a Gastra bar from way back when. Started transitioning over and seeing the potential for that market. And so late 90s, the inflatable leading edge kites came along, where you have kind of tent material as your canopy for the kite, and then the leading edge to create some of the shape of the kite was a sort of like an inflatable raft type insert on the leading edge to create the shape of that leading edge.
It's hard. I felt as the other guys.
And that's pumped up with like a camp pump. Yep. And then the rest of the shape of the kite is created with a bridle system of lines that creates the rest of the shape. So when the lines are attached at 4 points, it creates and holds the shape of the kite when the wind goes across it.
Okay.
So just a brief history of distinction between kite surfing and windsurfing, and then early or mid to late 90s was when the production kites started coming on the scene, and then around 2004 there was a distinct change, and I won't go into the details of this, of the kite technology, which made the sport a lot more user-friendly and safer.
I know that safety was a concern.
Yeah.
Early on, and perhaps a lot of people that either see us or are around when you guys or we are windsurfing and kite surfing, you kind of overlook it, the safety aspect, with all the bright colors and excitement, and but it's become a lot safer for the rider.
Yes, because of that change, the power source is more controllable. In layman's terms, it's more predictable and more controllable. And as with everything, there's potential risk. There's potential risk in eating a ham sandwich. But it has become far more approachable for folks. However, it's not for everyone. It's not like I often think about how rollerblading exploded in, what was that, the early 90s, maybe late 80s?
Yeah.
And how everyone had a pair of rollerblades. And people were getting hurt because you can very easily break a wrist rollerblading.
Yeah, it's not ice skating, It's,
no, you can't. You flip off the back there and you can hurt yourself quickly. Not everyone's going to be strapping a kite on or windsurfer on because of, I think, the physical challenges. There are definitely physical challenges that something like, say, rollerblading doesn't have. So,
cool.
But
cool.
Good stuff.
Well, so we've got a pretty good scene going. A young scene, but maybe not youngsters, but like kind of growing the community around. So far our reach goes around the Finger Lakes and up to Rochester, and I know we've touched a little bit on Syracuse, but just of men and some women that are windsurfing and kite surfing. And we've got Rochester Wind Sports, the website that is out there, and that's kind of a way to bring people together and create that community that you need to get you through sometimes, because when you and I want to hit the water and all the other guys and girls, we can't always just say, I'll see you tomorrow at 5 o'clock, and then after that session wraps up, hey, back here tomorrow at 5, because we're so wind dependent. So keeping that community together has been really cool. So there's you can find out, you people that are, if you're still sticking with us on the podcast, hopefully if you want to find out more, you can hit our site here on fingerlakes1.tv, but we also have Rochester Wind Sports, the webpage, and there's a forum on there and all sorts of site guides, because I think in the future on our podcast we'll talk about various sites around the region and how to ride there and what the conditions are and safety and things like that. But there's site guides and some getting started info, and you can kind of meet up with the people in the scene in this community. These people we're going out and getting after it. Which kind of makes me want to give a plug for the we got a hangout. We've got a meet and greet kind of coming up on February 9th. It is called the Hook In and Hangout. That'll be at Mulconnery's at 2 o'clock on a Sunday, February 9th. It's the Rochester Wind Sports second annual Hook In Hangout, and more or less it's just Hook-in, of course, is reference to the harness that we wear to help us kite and windsurf. But everybody kind of comes together. People that are just interested, just getting started. They've begun flying a kite in a park and think this is really cool, and I'm going to take this to the water when the weather gets here in the springtime. To the people that have been windsurfing and holding the sport down and the interest for decades in this area, because there's a core group of people that can really tear it up in windsurf and kiteboard.
Yourself included.
Yeah, hey, back at you. All right, but we, it's something we love and we want to share it, and that's of course what you and I are trying to do with this podcast. So February 9th, if you want to know more about the Hook-in and Hangout, it'll last a couple hours at Mulconnery's Pub in Fairport. And I know we've got I think 11 people as of last count that just since the invite went out 3 days ago said, yeah, I'll be there. Wouldn't miss it. So
I think we had maybe 20, 25 people last year. Yeah,
it was a good time. We watched some videos and just kind of talked, and I got to meet people that I didn't know, because when you and I show up, that product placement, it's
not working out for me here.
Maybe. There we go. Oh, wait, what is that behind you? Is that a kiteboard behind you?
Oh, that?
Yeah, maybe people that are curious. That's a good-looking Slingshot kiteboard. Looking for a sponsor, Slingshot.
Looks like
Look
it's
at
got
that.
a few miles on it.
Yeah. A few jumps, too, I'm sure.
Maybe
footless, or strapless, I mean. A footless, strapless.
Yeah. I think
doing some pretty good riding.
Might work all right. Looks like it's got several miles on it. Some better days.
That's good.
Birthday's coming up. We'll have to see about maybe an upgrade there.
Hopefully the right person's watching the podcast.
Hey, honey.
Hint. That's me windsurfing by.
Look at that guy. Man,
oh, hey, look at that. Look at that. Oh, a little jump.
Oh.
Yeah, this is the entertainment segment of the podcast.
Does he do any looping?
Let's see. I could. Let's
hit the wake on that board.
How about a forward loop?
Oh my god.
Oh, crash. Oh, windsurfer boy, do you need some help? Hey, check me out here. Yeah, this could be you if you do windsurfing and kiteboarding in the Finger Lakes region. Maybe this is already you.
Oh.
All right, let's go. Let's get a drink. All right.
Match made in heaven. Lego heaven.
Lego heaven. Indeed. So I guess for getting started in windsurfing, for me, if I could talk about that for a second, and then we'll do the same with kiteboarding. There's one spot around here that does lessons, and a lesson, and I'm sure you'll echo and say the same thing. Lessons will be key to getting you safely on the water. So we've got Canandaigua sailboarding at Kershaw Park in Canandaigua, and that's seasonally open, and they've got a Facebook page and a web page. But that's a way to get started. They've got beginner gear. They'll sell gear there. Steve Howie, who runs the shop, has been there for years, doing it for a long time. A pretty accomplished windsurfer himself. I know he's got a good, enthusiastic staff. I was in there, and there was 12. Anyways, a young man that had been out in November on this day that was frigid. You and I and many of the others in the crew had been at Seneca that day, and I drove home through Canandaigua because I needed to get something for my board for my son, and I stopped in, and this kid was stoked. I wish I remembered his name. He knows who he is if he's seeing this, but I was so impressed that he'd been out windsurfing. So it's a board and the sail, a mast, and a boom, and the universal holds all that together. And you can certainly come up with that stuff used, but you've got to be careful what you come up with used to make sure you've done your research, and you know what you should be looking for, because there's some junk out there, and that'll hurt you more than it'll help you, and that's where the lesson comes in. They can teach you the things that you need to know as far as balancing the sail, how to get on the board, and basic parts of sailing, wind direction related to which way you're aiming everything and pulling it up. So getting started in windsurfing is, you can plan to spend, I think lessons are for an hour. I'm going to go with a ballpark of $50 to $60. Probably 60 is a better estimate. And then the warm sandy water on Canandaigua Lake is a perfect venue for that. I know there's not much, at least from Kershaw Park, I don't think kiting's even allowed there, just because it's so dense.
Yeah, they've really filled it up now.
There's not a lot of room, and I know there's planned development there even more. And you got to stay clear of the swim area too.
Right, which has grown.
Yeah. Well, and it's back open again, thank heavens.
Yeah.
But you know, so I guess getting started in windsurfing, and you can go to the RochesterWindsports.com website, and there's links on there, and just how to get started. But you know, it's pretty easy. You only need one of everything, and it'll fit on your car. Kiteboarding fits in your car. What do you do to? What are the basically not getting long-winded? What are the steps? Because you don't start on the water.
Not necessarily. Going back to, and this applies to both sports. Going back to something you said, I think a first thing I'd like to say is it's about community, because it's not generally something you go out and just do on your own. You're out on the water, and it's good to always have somebody out, at least on shore, who knows you're out. It's good to hook up with people who are experienced, so that you can get knowledge from the folks around you. And everyone who's passionate about either of these sports is more than happy to talk about it and pass along their knowledge and help you get going. Actually, it's one of my favorite things now, is to get somebody started, because it brings back some of the memories I had of when I started kite surfing, in this case, to see the people get past some of the hurdles that took me a long time to get past. I can get them past those hurdles really quickly, because it's like, okay, let's just face the biggest fear here, and you show them that technique. They have it in their tool bag, and it's not to say that it's not still something that could hurt them or be potentially dangerous, but if you show them the potential for that thing to happen, in this case, I like to show people how to loop the kite, because that's something that happens without you expecting it. And if you haven't practiced it and it's never happened to you, without practice, then it can be pretty scary. So community, going back to that, is that it's good to get connected with someone who knows someone who's into it or is actually into it themselves, because then they can guide you, and then it also will help your progression that much faster and help you get an answer for whether the sport's right for you or not.
I remember looking at reading. I didn't have that community when I first started. I was stoked on windsurfing, but I remember kind of reading in magazines, don't look down, it'll, when you do this, when you're trying this move, it'll ruin your base of support and the board will get out of control, and that happened to me. But boy, to be there with somebody who, look, this is what I mean, look where you're going to go, don't look down under, even uphauling, pulling the sail out of the water. If you're looking down, you're gonna, and you're trying to transition from pulling it out with the uphaul to the boom and holding on, that's a pretty dicey situation. If you're looking down, your mind's going to play tricks.
You have no frame of reference. No
balancing point.
It's a good example.
So
that goes back to monkey see, monkey do, which for me, I know how I learn. I can learn 10 times faster by seeing somebody do something, preferably live. I mean, video helps, but preferably live. So if you can get down to the field where people are flying kites, or down to the lake where people are windsurfing, and see them do it in person, and then talk to them about what they just did, it's a lot easier way to get the information, I think.
If they're going to do that, stay upwind of us, right?
Yeah.
Where the wind's coming from. Stay out of the way of
the
kite and the...
That's true.
But you talked about field, too. That's one of the first steps, right?
That's what I do, yeah. I have a training kite that I use to teach myself to kite with, and with the help of a good friend. And I used that in a field. Just this summer, I taught a guy, and was able to get him going and push him in the right direction. And so, yeah, you can use a skateboard if you don't want to get in the water immediately, or better yet, the best time to learn actually is right now, because you can take your skis or snowboard on the ice, and this applies to windsurfing as well, and take the whole water factor out of the equation in learning.
Yeah.
And the fear level for even an experienced swimmer. I mean, I've been swimming my entire life, but when I started on the water and I wasn't really that good at flying the kite yet, I was terrified of getting pulled underwater, which happened a few times. And that was just a experience thing. It doesn't happen if you don't, if you do the right thing, it doesn't happen. But so to do it on land or ice or snow,
which kind of leads us to what I mean. What have you been up to? I mean, I know you and I have run into each other.
Yeah, we had a great session on Cranberry Pond. Was that New Year's Eve?
New Year's Eve.
Yeah,
the 31st on the ice, and there were some ice boats out there. The ice boat crew; those guys have been, a lot of them, doing it for a long time. But you had a really cool setup, similar to what I was using that day. For flying your kite, and with less resistance. That small trainer kite will go a lot further.
That's right. That's right. Almost no resistance. Yeah, that rig is based on the board rig that I'm referring to is based on the same setup you guys have with essentially skateboard trucks and then ice skate type blades. 4 of them set parallel the length of the board. And then power source being either the sail or the kite.
Yeah, and it's been a great winter so far.
It has. It's been a real winter for once.
It's been a great winter and we've had a lot of good ice. I was out. I know a bunch of the guys were out at Cranberry Pond, and it was even a little bit too windy yesterday, Sunday. But I hit up the Men and Ponds Winterfest on a 100-acre pond there, and there were 3 or 4 people out. They were giving demo lessons of the ice boats, a lot of homemade ice boats.
I wish I could have gotten down there.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun, a couple other guys, Gary and Scott, some of the community were out as well on the free skates or the wind skates, and with sails and just flying across the ice. A little snow on the ice, and speeds. I know the ice boat guys were clocking 20, 25, 26 mile an hour runs themselves across the ice.
You can get some speed up on the ice.
It was, and
you can use skis too. You don't have to have one of these high-tech custom boards that we're talking about. Skis work great. You have to sharpen the edges.
Custom being homemade. I mean, they're homemade. I mean, really.
Literally. Yeah. Other than the trucks, everything else.
So it's custom homemade. They are, it's not custom made in a shop of.
Right.
So it's attainable.
Carbon fiber,
it's attainable.
Totally attainable.
For a lot of people. And I did hear, there were folks out on Irondequoit Bay, Cranberry Pond, Long Pond. We were on I was on Mendon Ponds. But it's been a pretty good winter.
The snow cover has been a little light to get onto any fields, and it's been tough to find for that is for snow kiting. With a snowboarder skis on snow on a field. But that's another option to do. As in fact, there's a big snow kiting festival. It's the 15th of February through the 17th, which I believe is President's Day.
That's what Don sent out.
A
message about.
You can look it up at tughillsnowkite.com, I believe. It's being organized largely by masskiting.com, I believe, is their forum. It's a forum that kiters out on the Atlantic coast in Massachusetts go to for kiting related information, and folks can go to that if they're interested in learning more about the Tug Hill Kite Festival. But that's snow kiting, and weather permitting, they have 3 days of snow kiting on big open fields.
And that's in and among a wind farm.
Actually, I just heard today that the actual site where the wind farm is off limits this year. I believe that was restricted, probably for maybe insurance reasons.
Makes sense. Sure.
Permissions were taken away for that. But there are 2 other sites closer to 81, as I understand it, that will be for the actual festival.
Very cool. And that's not far from Watertown, is that?
It's actually, I think, south of it. It's closer to Pulaski. It's north of Pulaski. So it's between Pulaski and Watertown.
Well, have you talked to anybody? Are there folks from the area that are considering or will be going?
Oh yeah, there are definitely at least a handful of folks who will be going up from the Rochester, Syracuse area, and I'm sure there are plenty of folks who are planning on it, weather permitting, regionally, that I haven't talked to yet. But
cool. It'd be great to. I can't wait to hear. Maybe the next segment in February.
Yeah.
On our next podcast here, we can have somebody in studio or
that'd be great
to let us know how that went. Because I mean, what a fantastic event.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's been kind of on and off with the funny winters we've had. You really do need to have enough snow to make it worthwhile and enough wind. And with last year, I believe we didn't even have a winter really significant enough to get any snow kiting in. But it's I think the 7th annual. So it's I believe this is 7 years they've done this. So.
And I'd heard I pretty much exclusively windsurf, but I'd heard of it, and maybe there's a way that somehow we can. You said it was mass kiting. Maybe some of the folks around here.
That's a great idea.
Depending on how it grows, could help.
Yeah.
Or become part of that somehow.
We were talking about that in the car. Yeah, there's no reason why we shouldn't. At least to help the readership or the involvement of folks in the region. Yeah. Especially if we're going to have real winners. So.
I was actually just thinking. I don't want to go back to starting the sport, but we've been talking about this. Taking the water out of that whole element, out of learning to kiteboard and windsurfing too. It becomes a lot more stable. Is that something that I mean? You said now is a good time to learn.
Yeah.
I know there's FLX kiters.
Yes.
And I know that there's some kite lessons available, and that's Brad, right? Brad Muse.
Brad, yep. FLX Kiters is a local certified instruction available out of Geneva, New York, right on Seneca. And Seneca is a great place to learn. There's great wind quality. There's a nice sand beach and sandy bottomed shallow area. That's great, and Brad does a great job showing folks how to get into the sport. So
that's good. Yeah, he's involved on the Rochester Wind Sports website too. Yep. And I thank him a lot for that. So
we'll have to get him in sometime. And
that'd be perfect. Yeah, we haven't talked much lake surfing.
No, we haven't.
Have you stand up paddleboarded out on the lake, being Lake Ontario? Have you been out there in the storm driven waves?
I have, yeah, and there's some monsters. I mean, I enjoy them more with the kite because you can aim. With the kite, you have the power source to get you. You can see a big wave coming. So I'm going over there. I'm getting that wave. And whoop-ah, bam, you get that wave, and away you go. I being more of a novice surfer and SUPer in waves, it's more challenging. But I tell you, it's a great way to learn. Taking the knowledge of waves and kite surfing and applying it to SUP surfing and traditional surfing on the lakes. It's been fun to grow my knowledge in that regard too. Have you ever done any surfing?
I haven't. I haven't. Yeah. No, I've done no traditional surfing.
But you do SUPs.
Yeah, I do SUP, and my family. We've got one for my family, and it's something my wife has shown an interest in, and again, like something that my involvement and what I'd like to do with our stand-up paddleboard is different than my wife. She enjoys just getting out and seeing and doing, but just having like an exploring paddle. And my kids, my son's been on it, and they can swim off of it. And it's a neat platform. And they even have stand-up paddleboards with a spot to put a mast for a windsurfer. And you know what? It's not a great windsurfer, but it's a real doable windsurfer. So I mean.
And those are available locally at a couple
Canandaigua and at Bay Creek.
Yep.
Yeah, Bay Creek.
Ken does a great job down there.
He's fantastic.
Yeah. They have all different types too, right there that folks can rent or try before they buy.
Yeah. And he's got a great location.
He does.
There at Bay Creek is at the southern end of Irondequoit Bay.
Right.
And they've got the Irondequoit Creek. The outlet comes in there, and I know they. I was talking to Gary, went for a paddle just a couple days ago. He's got, and you have to, dry suits and things like that. These guys, and said it was just beautiful. And again, stand up paddleboarding what a cool way to get out and see the nature. He couldn't believe this snowy owl that went by, and it was quite a moment for him.
Yep.
And
very peaceful.
Yeah.
When you're not chasing waves and you go out and do an open water, flat water session, it's very peaceful.
Yeah.
Whether you see a snowy owl or not. It's pretty neat.
Whether you see snow at all or not.
That's a great crossover sport. It's amazing when you're looking to just get on the water and there's no wind. It's such a nice way. It's like a personal watercraft that you go out with a paddle. No gasoline, no special trailers or anything. You just put it on the roof of your car or in your car and drive down and get out.
Looks cool too.
Yeah.
In my opinion, they look cool on the rove of your car.
Oh,
it's what I mean.
think it's cool that if somebody can be. I always think it's kind of neat that you're essentially standing on water, out in the middle of body water, and it's pretty neat to just have this flotation device that you're standing on. It's like walking on water almost. It's pretty neat.
It's not. It's certainly you can kneel to begin, so it's not that difficult.
Yes.
I mean, I don't have a huge background getting into stand-up paddleboarding, but it's accessible.
Yes,
I know they've got some great instruction at Bay Creek, and I'm sure I've seen that firsthand. I'm sure they must have good instruction as well at Canandaigua Sailboarding. They rent it. I know they've got a kids camp.
Yep.
I'm sure that's something that I hope to talk about in the future as well on the podcast. But
that's a great point. Kneeling is a great way to transition. If it gets windy or wavy, you kneel, and it takes the effort out of it a lot because you're no longer getting buffeted by the wind as much, and your center of balance is a lot easier.
Yeah.
So.
When you talked about Bay Creek, I managed to hook up with some people up there, and they've got a pretty good core group that are doing land paddling. And I know we talked about it just earlier, and to revisit that, I had through getting some good direction from Ken at Bay Creek, I connected with a land paddle. So more or less, it's a 6 foot tall, 6 foot long pole with some good grippy rubber on the bottom, and I've got a longboard skateboard, and my days of getting after trick skateboarding are long since gone. But it was a cool way, and I do it in the fall, I do it in the spring. My son is doing it as well and enjoying it, getting out and propelling myself on the skateboard. And I've got to we've got to be geared up with a helmet and everything else, but a good way to get out and just see a snowy owl. But just get out and get some exercise, and it's fun. It's fun. My neighbors see me, and I think it's gone from looking out the window and going, what is that kook doing? Right. Look at him. He's got a pole and he's on a skateboard, to like coming out and saying, what is that? What do you call that? How, can I try that? And they're teaching it in phys ed classes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they've out in the West Coast.
It makes a lot of sense.
Getting people outside, and phys ed being my profession.
Yep.
I think it's fantastic. You'll do it forever.
Yeah.
I mean, you will someday. Those team sports outside of adult leagues they'll disappear, and you'll have to back down a little bit, but to still have something there, like these board sports, these that you can do and get after it really aggressively, or just leisurely enjoy. And we've got that. We've got that here. We've got people that are. We've got all varieties.
Yep.
You'll be out
17 to 70.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, and the wind and in the wind that's strong too. No, but not really. But like, you've got people that'll be out getting after it when it's averaging 30 mile an hour winds, gusting to 40, and all hell's breaking loose. And we're out there taming it and controlling it and just holding on, and
taming it.
Surviving.
Yeah.
And then there's people that are enjoying it, and I still enjoy going out when it's really not that windy, and I'm holding the sail up with one arm, but it's peaceful and flipping the sail around, and I don't know. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
And
you can make it as intense as you want or as mellow as you want, even on the most intense days. That is wind sports.
Yeah, and hopefully in the future we'll talk more. We'll have a segment where we can talk more about whether it's the Great Lakes surfing. I know you and I have a mutual friend he's been in the news area wide, who's working really hard to try to put Great Lakes surfing on the map.
Yes.
And
he's a Frenchman.
Yeah,
Aurélien Bouchepillon.
And I'm sure we'll manage to get him as a guest on the show.
Yeah. He's
eager.
He's got a lot of energy for the sport and a lot of knowledge. It'd be great to have him on.
And he's a personality. He's a guy that I think you meet him, and he's a positive. He's excited about what he's doing.
Yes.
And
he's a board member of the ESA, which is the Eastern Surfers Association.
I was unaware of that. Wow.
Yep. And actually was just at the Surf Expo down in Florida last week, sitting on the board for the ESA and being involved in the Surf Expo.
Wow.
And so he'll be a great guy to have.
It's a big deal, and he's here in our region.
Yeah. And is really super excited about pushing lake surfing, and I've been surfing with him and seen some amazing waves that he's caught on the lake, and the photos to prove, and the video to prove it, where it's people I've shown those photos and videos to have said that's a lake wave. I mean, it's a really nice looking wave, which takes work to find, but knowledge how
these are not typical. This is I guess probably scientifically these aren't defined as waves,
right? Being that I think what you're referring to is a wind-driven wave versus a groundswell wave that hits the bottom of the body of water and rises up to create the wave, right? Yeah.
So I mean, they've got to really look. They've got to look hard to find that.
Yes.
And
then have the skill too. I think honestly, it's a lot harder to surf in a lake wave situation than it would be to go to a ocean situation where you have this beautiful peeling wave coming in. Very predictable, and that the lake waves are not predictable.
No,
you have to really have the eye and understand what you're looking for to be able to actually catch one of those.
I caught a spot. I saw the spot around Thanksgiving time that they ran on TV up around Rochester. That you were interviewed, and Aurélien was interviewed too.
Right.
And he was talking too about some specific equipment need. More specific lake. That surfboard, whether it was wide or some
a little more volume, a little wider to catch the wave and come and do it a little earlier. Yep.
Man, that's cool. I'd love to. I can't wait to have him on. And we'll certainly do more of that. Yeah. Whether it's any of these board sports.
Right.
Again, coming back to community. There's a lot of character and a lot of variety to the people that are doing.
Yeah. And that's sports. The neat thing is it doesn't have to be us and them. So often that happens. That it's these guys versus those guys,
right?
And it's all about sharing the passion for the water and the sports and having that mutual appreciation.
Yeah, because when that wind went and even for the surfers, they're not being propelled by the wind, but those waves are. When the wind starts, for us wind sport, when it starts blowing, we're running around crazy, like the squirrels before the wind.
Yeah.
Like preparing for okay, let's do it. We're going.
Oh yeah.
Let's go. It's going to go see my good friends and go do this and experience it together.
That's fun.
So and that part's been fun.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're hoping to have a kind of a recurring segment on the show for kind of products or product reviews.
Yeah.
And I've got one. I was lucky enough to get a hold of. Let me pick it up here. For my for a weather meter, I got it for the holiday, and what I've got here is this is the WeatherFlow wind meter. And I think Jay, you were you were the first person that saw this. You put a post up on the Rochester Wind Sports forum.
Yeah.
And it comes little package. Here it is on top of my iPhone. Okay, and hopefully you can see that.
It's a wind meter, right?
It is a wind meter. You can see it spinning. And if you, it's hard to see that right now. But if you give me a second, let me navigate through the map here. You might be able to see on there now little speech bubbles. Those speech bubbles are other people. I'm, of course, at the blue dot. Those are other people that have taken on-site wind meter readings using one of these wind meters. And this is a tool I think that will be great for all of us.
Yeah.
In chorus with the group me notifications we have.
Yep.
Using it's really easy. You install the app on your phone, and you click start, and there I've got 0. Let me give it a blow, and come on, why isn't it reading?
Wrong direction?
Wrong
maybe?
direction. Maybe we're not plugged in all the way. That stinks when that doesn't work.
I think I'll go back to my hall wind meter.
Oh, there we go. Now it's, the old true one. Tried and true. So there it is. You can see it taking a reading, and then I can send this via the app, and I can also text it out what the conditions are doing and where.
I think there's some statistical tools too. You can plot if you want to set it up for a period of time and take a sample.
Yeah.
Get a plot of the wind quality, the range, gusting, and the lulls.
I've got a history. I've got a history of
different readings.
Yeah, that session actually out at Cranberry Pond when you were kiting and I was free skating with my ice windsurfer. But it's been easy to use.
Nice. I'm glad to see that actually works, and it looks like a pretty good product.
It's excellent. When I send it out, apparently I haven't tried it yet, but I can send out I don't know how much I'd use it, but like a photo of what the water conditions look like and things like that. But it's really affordable. I think it's just in the low 30s.
Oh, that's good.
What it costs, but it seems really accurate.
Good.
I think for me, the reason I grabbed it and what I see as being a good thing is the ease of the use of the app. It's wind alert and weather flow and iWindsurf, iKitesurf. I know they have a number of other sites.
Yep.
iFish weather, all these other things, and it brings it all together in one package for me.
Great. On
this phone, so
that is a good price, because some of the other electronic wind is that an
anemometer? Anemometer
can be better part of $100 from what I had seen. That's why I stuck with my low tech anemometer. And I promise we have not been drinking.
We'll have a post podcast session.
Yes,
here. We'll have I'm sure.
So. But that was what I was impressed with, is the simplicity of use and the low cost, and it's comparable to some of the cheaper, more traditional wind meters that don't have electronics and fewer moving parts.
It's accurate too.
Yeah,
I've held it up as compared to my hall wind meter, and it's accurate. They both got the same readings.
Yeah,
and I'm not necessarily giving a plug for WeatherFlow, but it's a cool little gadget that perhaps people who want to know what the wind is doing and where and share it, it's something that they can use. So if you see this and it's helpful, I hope so.
I like that it's small, because you can. I always find that if there's a gadget and it takes up too much space, I wind up leaving it at home. Yeah. But if it's small enough to have in my pocket, then I'll probably wind up using it, especially if it works well. So that's pretty neat.
I've got to find a place to keep it so that I make sure it's with me at all times.
Right. Yeah.
I've brought it out in my street, just kind of nerding it up a little bit. Oh, I wonder what it's blowing here right now. Nope. Me nerd it up. I sure am. But
amen to that.
Yeah. So that. Well, I mean, we're kind of getting close to the end of our hour. Anything you feel like adding or want to say that? I mean, I think it's been a good hour. And
I'd just like to say thanks to Jim for giving us the opportunity, and it's been a lot of fun. It's nice to get the word out, and really look forward to seeing where this goes, and how we can bring community to the region, and our love of the outdoors, and our passion for sports.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly focused, and I think we'll certainly do our best to keep our focus on the whole range of people that might be interested in what we're talking about on the podcast. So I think we'll be doing that, whether it's guests and things like that. I know you've put together some good videos too. So
maybe we could have a video spot where not necessarily any of ours, but if there's a video of interest that's in board sports related or not, or otherwise, something that may be amusing, we could share it with the crowd, and and pass it on.
So we're going to be monthly. They can kind of. I know you and I are talking, and we kind of planned it with Jim. We're looking towards the week of President's Day in February. We'll be back on the air and telling you what we need to know, and hopefully we'll even have some feedback by then. Perhaps people that visited the site here at Finger Lakes.
Take some ideas for sure.
You know, and make it the community's show. I mean, we're the talking heads here right now, but because we love it, and you know, I've heard you say community 5 or 6 or 20 times today, and so that's big.
Yeah,
that's big. Well, it's been fun. It's been good sitting here with you.
Thanks, Doug, and thank you for bringing me in on this.
Of course, you got it right back at you. But so if you made it to the end of the show, folks that are watching, we're glad you stayed with us. In the future, you can count on us to keep you up to date. What's going on and how to get involved in all things windsurfing, kiteboarding, surfing, stand-up paddleboarding, and skate. We're going to have a lot of variety in the show, and we hope it gets you going and gives you some stoke to get out there. We'll try to keep it fresh, seasonal, and be sure to check in with us monthly. And to keep up to date, you can certainly hit us up at RochesterWindsports.com. So for my co-host, Jason Gordon, I'm Doug Willard. See you out there.